So the history of the frontal drugs is continuing. So there's another tragic incident that happened in 1962 in the US. Okay, so that was the thalidomide incident. Okay, so if you can see this picture, you have these kids with deformed limbs, right? So that is caused by the thalidomide drug, which was prescribed as the morning sickness pill in 1960s. So actually that drug was first introduced in West Germany as an over-the-counter drug for treating nausea or some other kind of upset stomach, actually, without even carefully tested. And then that drug was imported to the United States, and then some doctors started to prescribing the drugs for the ladies with the pregnancy for treating morning sickness. But as you can see, it had a very severe side effect. It affects the development of the limbs in the fetus. So through this tragic incident, so many children were born with this deformation. So based on this incident, so FDA started a new amendment. So that is the Kiefer-Harris drug amendment. Okay, so what it's saying is, before the companies market a drug in the United States, okay, the companies are obligated to prove that the drug is not only safe, also they should present the substantial evidence of the effectiveness, the efficacy of the drug for the product's intended use. Because the treating the morning sickness was never tested when that drug was imported to the United States, and there was no safety testing done before doctors started prescribing. So that was a major problem. So then the question is, then how do the companies present that efficacy and safety of their drug? And this is the beginning of the clinical trials. Okay, so the FDA, after setting up these requirements, the only way of these companies proving that their drug is safe and effective for the intended use was by going through a testing on the human subject. So that is the beginning of the clinical trials requirement. Okay, and this lady, Dr. Frances Kelsey, was recognized as a hero because she was working for the FDA around the time, and she never approved the drug, this thalidomide, for the use in the United States, actually. So she could prevent this tragic incident in the US, although there were some doctors who prescribed without the approval of the FDA, but she was recognized the main hero in the FDA. Okay. And then 1962, so because of the requirement of the drug manufacturing, especially clean drug manufacturing, and they tried to look into the many different technologies to come up with the clean drug manufacturing. So part of the technology that was made available at the time was using the clean room technology. So if you go to a company like Catalan, they are doing their drug manufacturing in the clean room condition, right? So clean room is what very special space where everything is sealed up, enclosed, and the only air that's coming into the space is all filtered through HEPA filter, high efficiency particulate air filter. So it generates very clean environment where not many particulates or contaminants will be floating. Okay, so that cleaning technology was made and available in 1960s. Okay, and again 1963. So the first CGMP requirement. So CFR is Code of Federal Regulation. That's basically what the federal law. Okay, so the federal laws have different the numbers 21, 1 through whatever. Okay, and then 21, chapter 21, CFR, is about the food and drug law. Okay, and then among those, part 210 and 211 describes the condition of drug manufacturing. Okay, the requirements, what facility you should have, how you validate the facility, and then who should be able to work there, the personnel requirements, and what raw materials can be used, how you test them, they are safe to be used, how you test your drug manufacturing process. All those requirements are described in this parts 210 and 212. Those are the federal guidelines for CGMP. Okay, so that was the first proposed CGMP regulation introduced back in 1963. Okay, and then of course CGMP is CGMP. C means what? It's current, meaning whatever the updates that's made frequently, you should reflect that in your practices. So a lot of revisions been made, and one of the major revision was made in 1978. Okay, so again, CFR means the Code of Federal Regulation. That's a general and permanent federal law that's governed by the U.S. government, and there are 50 titles, okay, Title 1 through 50, and out of those, Title 21 is the Food and Drug Cosmetic Act. It's a law about the food and drug and cosmetic, how they should manufacture. Okay, and each title is divided into different chapters. Okay, and then chapters are divided into so titles divided into chapters and assigned to the agencies. And chapter 1 is for the FDA. Good. Okay, and then each chapter is divided into parts. Okay, so when you say part 210 and 211, so those are the parts out of the chapter. So FDA chapter. Okay. So the main purpose of the CFR is to present the official and complete text of agency regulation, the federal law. Okay, and one organized publication that is made available to the public. Okay, so it's a very comprehensive and convenient reference for all those who need to know about what the law says in terms of what they are doing in drug manufacturing. It's a very important guideline, the federal law. So actually it's the law. If you violate this, of course, you will be prosecuted, put into jail, or your company may be shut down. You cannot do anything. Okay, it's a very serious crime. And then 1970s, the starting of the biotechnology. So biotechnology means what? Through the DNA technology, you will be able to engineer a gene, introduce into different organisms. So from those organisms, through so-called genetic engineering, you can make protein products. So the first genetically engineered drug was what? Insulin, Humulin, made by Eli Lilly. So that was 1973. Actually, a company called Genentech came up with the idea, and they got the patent and approval from the FDA. Not the patent, I'm sorry, FDA doesn't give you patent, but it's a patent agency, but FDA gave the approval, NDA approval. So they got the approval from the FDA, and then they sold their patent to Eli Lilly. So Eli Lilly has been making the drug for so many years. So it's about what, 50 years they've been making it. Yeah. And then FDA published the guideline for aseptic processing and process validation. Of course, that's constantly updated. And in 1997, the first human monoclonal antibody drug, Rituxan, for cancer treatment was approved by FDA. So this is the beginning of anti-cancer drug made by the monoclonal antibodies. Okay, now there are so many drugs in the market that are all monoclonal antibody-based anti-cancer drugs. Many of them are manufactured by companies like Catalan. Okay, so that's the end of the lecture 2, and here are the homework assignment questions again. So I'm combining these with the previous ones from lecture 1, and you will have one assignment, so you can download from assignment section and find the answers for those and type them up and upload them for 10-point credit. So question number 1 is, what are pyrogens? How they affect parental drug? Pyrogens are again what? Endotoxins made by broken debris of the cellular material of gram-negative bacteria. If they are injected with your parental drug into the human body, what happens? They cause a sepsis, so people die from it. Okay, so you don't want those pyrogens and the toxins in your drug. So you have to provide deep pyroinjection method in your manufacturing process. What historic incident triggered Congress to pass the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act in 1938? What is that? That incident with Elixir, the antibiotics. So yeah, sulfonamide incident. Okay, so diethylene glycol was mixed up, so that was the incident. 107 kids died of it. Okay, so what is that about? The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. The drug manufacturers should approve that their drug is safe. Around the time, anybody could manufacture anything and put in a vial and sell them as a cure-all. But from this time on, people could not do that anymore because there was a federal law preventing those. Okay. And what historic incident triggered the Kiefer-Harris drug amendment? Of course, that is a thalidomide incident, right? What are the major changes in the amendment? So not only the safety should be approved, also what the efficacy of the intended use of the drug should be approved by the company. So how do you make sure that you can scientifically prove that your drug has efficacy for the intended use? You have to go through the clinical trials, right? And how was the first CGMP regulation introduced by the FDA? It's 1963. The CFR, okay, Title 21, CFR was introduced in the 210 and 211, actually, right? That's a federal law. So if you violate the federal law, of course, you'll be prosecuted. Your operation should be shut down. There is a severe consequences for that. Finally, what was the significance of FDA's approval on Humulin in 1982? That is what? The first biotechnology drug. So you could make a protein from a genetically engineered cell. So the Humulin was actually made by the genetically engineered E. coli bacterial cells, and Humulin was the human the peptide hormone, insulin. Okay, prior to 1982, Humulin, actually the insulin drug product was made, but actually those are made from porcine, the pig insulin. So people were, going to the slaughterhouses, and they get pancreatic tissues of the pigs, and they isolated the pig insulin, and they manufactured those as the insulin shots. So that's what was used. But the problem is that's not human insulin. There's a structural difference and size difference, although it may give some efficacy. So since if you're using a foreign protein into human body, what happens? There's a immune rejection happening through the injection. So there are a lot of side effects. So it was not really desirable drug. But if you use genetically modified E. coli cells, and those cells will make human insulin protein, because you're using human DNA that has the information to make human protein, regardless of what cells are making the protein. It is the human protein. It has the same structure, same size, same efficacy. So there's no side effect, much less side effect. So that's the benefits of using biotech drugs since 1982. All right, I hope you enjoyed lecture 2. So that's it.